Good morning, All Saints. It's Thursday morning, the 28th of January. Good to be with you this morning. I hope that your week has gone well. And I hope that the days ahead are fruitful, restful, whatever it is you need for them to be. I hope that's what they are. Towards the beginning of the pandemic, the bishop of this diocese, Carly Hughes, called a meeting every Wednesday afternoon of all the active clergy in the diocese as a way of letting us know what's going on and of encouraging us and of sharing resources. Of course, I don't think any of us imagined that we would still be doing this in January, almost 11 months later. And those weekly meetings later became every few weeks, and now they're about once a month. So we had a meeting with the bishop yesterday, and she always starts us off with some kind of provocative question, something she reads, usually a passage of scripture, and then asks us to think about something. So, yesterday, she read a couple of verses from the 43rd chapter of Isaiah, which I'm going to share with you now. Isaiah wrote, "Do not remember the former things or consider the things of old. I am about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." And the questions she asks were, what former things might we be invited to let go of? And what new things that God will provide do we need to have our hands open and ready for? And of course, my immediate thoughts, what former things do I need to let go of? It's the idea that church membership means who shows up in church on Sunday morning, because more often than not, I don't know who's in church on Sunday morning. People are at home, some in their pajamas, sipping their coffee, all of which is fine. If they're joining us and being part of our community, if that's you, I think that's great. It's very difficult to count, and that has always been kind of a standard measure of what counts as a successful or a growing church, is how many people are in the pews or in the chairs or whatever your setup is. So that's one thing, and so the new thing is, being creative about what it means to be a community of faith. I mean, all of you who have been regular, watchers of my morning meditations, I mean, I consider you to be part of my community, even if you have a community of your own. And that's a very exciting way of kind of breaking down the barriers and the walls that separate us. And I think it might end up being one of the great gifts of this pandemic, is that we reimagine, what does it mean to be church? If you're an Episcopalian, you know that there are certain, by the canons and constitutions of the church, there are certain rules that you have, things you have to do to be a member. You know, regular attendance, receiving the Eucharist at least 3 times a year, and being known to the treasurer, is the way it used to be put. You have to be a giver to the church. But I'm wondering if we're gonna need to rethink all of that. And so but and it's not okay. So I also need to say, it's not just church things that we need to be asking about, former things and new things. And so I want to invite you, in whatever context you're in, to think about that, whether it's your work or your home, your private life. Another thing that comes to mind when I consider former things is kind of the frantic and hectic pace so many of us keep on a regular basis, and that this pandemic has really suppressed that, because you can't go anywhere. And so we've had to find new ways of being at home, going about our lives without quite that same, got to get up, get moving, get out of the house. It's different. So maybe something new is, how do we hold on to some of the time, perhaps, that we have found during this pandemic? So I'm going to let you think about these former things and new things over the next days. That was Isaiah 43:18 and 19. And I hope that we will see you on Sunday morning, whether you're dressed and ready to go or in your pajamas. We'll be right over on Facebook Live at 10 a.m. And know that you remain in my heart, in my prayers during these days, even as there is hope on the horizon that we may be at the beginning of the end of this pandemic. Grace and peace to all of you, and love to those that you love and pray for.